The video for that song? What do you think? I won't say this song killed grunge, and watch the party come alive. Marilyn Manson formed in 1989, led by vocalist Brian Warner, who adopted the stage name Marilyn Manson, blending the names of actress Marilyn Monroe and cult leader Charles Manson. Provocative imagery, theatrical performances, industrial rock, industrial metal, goth rock, goth metal, alternative rock, alternative metal, glam rock, dark, satirical, subversive subjects. More than 30 years after the debut of Portrait of an American Family, Marilyn Manson remains a polarizing yet influential figure in rock music. This video is about the music of Marilyn Manson and not what the singer, Marilyn Manson, may or may not have done outside of making music and performing on stage. Portrait of an American Family dropped in 1994, and it was quite an effort to get it put together. Originally recorded as the Manson Family album, it was deemed subpar at the point of its completion. Reproduced, remixed, Gidget Keen's heroin problems played a big role. The label really did not like the original artwork, the Charles Manson references. And when the album finally did drop, members of the UK Parliament tried to have it banned. It was, quote, an outrage against society, you see. The album did not sell, not at first. It took 9 years to attain gold status. Cake and Sodomy sets the tone for the next 11 albums. Get Your Gun is a banger. It would eventually be blamed for the Columbine High School massacre a few years later. We'll get to that. Wrapped in Plastic, inspired by Twin Peaks, has a more ethereal vibe. Dogma is maybe a shade on the punk side, a shade anyway. Lunchbox, Big Chorus, Big Rage, Sweet Tooth has a slower grinding groove to it. Snake Eyes and Sissies has this Zeppelin, I even hear Deep Purple kind of vibe to it. My Monkey, this one track by itself, held up the release of the album for quite a while because Interscope did not like this whole sort of happy, fun-sounding Charles Manson track. Get Your Gun soon became a Marilyn Manson classic. Lunchbox, same. Misery Machine. I guess if you're going to put a spin on the whole hidden track thing, yeah, this is the way to do it. It's a good beginning. The album was serious. It was focused. I think it's most likely a really accurate snapshot of where the band was at that point. Their journey to Trent Reznor, who co-produced the album, and the early 90s, and what was going on in the early 90s. This is going to sound weird, but it also shows that the band had yet to fully explore its own imagination. Portrait of an American Family is a good beginning. The Smells Like Children EP dropped next. It was co-produced by Trent Reznor. It achieved platinum status in 1998. This EP, even though it's really the length of an album, it put Marilyn Manson on the map with their very dark cover of the Eurythmics' Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. Diary of a Dope Fiend was on this EP. It was a remix of Dope Hat, slower, arguably kind of ponderous. This was banned in some markets. Some countries wouldn't sell this. This is a remix covers album. It was billed as an EP, even though it's 54 minutes and change. I know several full-length albums that are a lot shorter. The band opened for Danzig for a while in 1995. There is a notation on the disc, if you look at it, that does say, keep this and all drugs away from small children. So, obviously, Marilyn Manson was doing their part to be stand-up guys. There's also a cover of I Put a Spell on You on this EP. So, at your next Halloween party, do a karaoke version of Marilyn Manson's version of I Put a Spell on You. And watch the party come alive. You want to play poop games? Now, here's the thing. On the one side, okay, at this point, I would be a little worried that this band is more about sonic ideas and soundscapes than actual musical ideas, but again, this is an EP. It's a remix EP. I don't love remix albums. I'm not going to say it's non-essential, but I am going to say that it's just okay. This is something that I never revisit. Antichrist Superstar dropped in 1996, co-produced by Trent Reznor. It achieved platinum status very quickly. The Beautiful People, damn good song, an iconic song. I wonder how many bands formed because this song was so anthemic. It was so inspiring. I won't say this song killed grunge, but it significantly weakened the hold on rock music that grunge had up to this point. So anyway, obviously, I think The Beautiful People is a real standout track. Tourniquet's also a standout track on the album. You can definitely hear the Alice Cooper influence on this album. This album sparked massive protests, massive boycotts, for its anti-religious themes. Basically, every venue on the band's Dead to the World tour was picketed by someone. There were bomb threats, death threats. I Wasn't Born with Enough Middle Fingers. Irresponsible Hate Anthem is powerful, aggressive, angry. The name just kind of, you wouldn't expect flutes and violins. Dried Up, Tied, and Dead to the World is a nicely layered mid-tempo track. Little Horn is a banger. Crypt Orchid is eerie. Deformography, Wormby, solid, there's Bowie influence there. Mr. Superstar is very driving. Angel with the Scabbed Wings. Kinderfeld, that's slow, it's ominous. There's your Trent Reznor vibes again there. The title track, 1996. The Boy That You Loved Is the Man That You Fear. Kerrang called this the number 3 album of the year for 1996. In the 2011 issued 100 Best Albums of the 90s, came in number 84. NME placed it at number 92 on the 100 Greatest Heavy Metal Albums Ever. This album is a real no-skips album from Marilyn Manson. I feel sorry for people who've never had more than a passing interest in Marilyn Manson. This is Marilyn Manson's The Wall, and they're both basically the same length. The Wall is only 3 minutes longer. This is definitely the album where Marilyn Manson arrived, the album where the band put it all together. This is a classic. It is a top-tier classic. It's personal favorite from the mid-90s. It's one you gotta have. In 1997, Remix and Repent, that EP dropped. It didn't really particularly sell very well. The Horrible People is basically a drum and bass remix of The Beautiful People. The acoustic version of Man That You Fear is kind of cool, but it's kind of cool because acoustic Marilyn Manson had never really been a thing, at least not up to that point, so it's different. I'm going to be real honest with you. I think it is the least vital title in the Marilyn Manson discography. Mechanical Animals dropped in 1998, not produced by Trent Reznor. The Dope Show was the lead single, and it is a top 5 all-time Marilyn Manson track, in my opinion. I think if you look it up by the numbers, it's the band's biggest hit. I don't like the Drugs, but the Drugs like me. If you don't hear David Bowie's Fame when you hear this, you've never heard David Bowie's Fame. It's got a saxophone solo, and I'm cool with that. And I'm not normally all that cool with that. Controversy is like a very, very heavy glam rock track. Did Marilyn Manson sell out for this album? No. Marilyn Manson's Ziggy Stardust. The whole aesthetic of the character. This album really doesn't get intense until Rock is Dead comes along. Disassociative. I could hear this being a Smashing Pumpkins track. The Speed of Pain. Ballad. Posthuman is a bit of a banger. I Want to Disappear. Strong glam vibes with a really intense hook. User-friendly is just nasty, but in a good way. And the album closes with 3 more or less ballads, the best of which is Coma White. The album cover generated a lot of controversy. Kmart would not sell it. Walmart would not sell it. Target refused to sell it. This album doesn't hit quite as hard as Antichrist Superstar, but it's still a really, really good album. It's a great album. It was a strong follow-up. It had the unenviable task of being the follow-up to Antichrist Superstar, and I would say that it almost lived up to it. The Last Tour on Earth, Live, dropped in 1999. It achieved gold status, which, for live albums, that doesn't really necessarily happen all that much. It did feature one new track, The Astonishing Panorama of the End Times. It's a pretty good song, and that was also featured on Celebrity Deathmatch, by the way. It was nominated for a Grammy, but it lost to the Deftones, so at least, it lost to a good band. I had a dream last night, Cedar Rapids. I really wish there had been a DVD put together from the material that landed on this album. Get Your Gun really lands on this album. This is a pretty good live album. Honestly, I'm changed my mind based on my notes. I'm gonna say it's a great live album, and I don't say that about a lot of live albums. Holy Wood, In the Shadow of the Valley of the Death. That was the first Marilyn Manson album of the 21st century. It achieved gold status, so there obviously still an interest. John 5 co-wrote several of the songs, including Disposable Teens. The Fight song is a classic track. I'm Not a Slave to a God That Doesn't Exist. It might be the angriest glam rock song ever. The Nobodies. Finally, a track for harpsichord fans. It totally works. It was the album's third single. The Columbine high school shootings had occurred just a few months before this album dropped, and the media at that time erroneously reported that the student perpetrators were heavily influenced by Marilyn Manson, even wearing the group's t-shirts during that tragic event. It even came to light eventually, though, that these boys didn't like Marilyn Manson. So this album was sort of a big FU to the media for their handling of the Columbine shootings. It was a very successful album outside of the U.S. Manson intended this to be a soundtrack to a film based on the music. The film never got made. Target audience is slow and brooding and haunting. President Dead gets right to it with a funky bass line. In the Valley of the Shadow of Death is really more depressing than angry. It's a change of pace for sure. Crucifixion in Space is very slow but very intense. The Death Song is pretty intense. Born Again. I'm hearing Nine Inch Nails here. Burning Flag. I'm hearing Ministry here. Coma Black would be an amazing closing track, but count to 6 and die. Overlapping vocals and some sort of clicking, ticking sound effect. All I'll say about that is, if you know, you know. Hollywood is a great album. If you like Marilyn Manson, there's no reason to think anything poorly of that album. Strong motivation behind the lyrics. In 2003, the Golden Age of Grotesque also managed to go gold, so in spite of the controversy, there's still a loyal audience for Marilyn Manson. Mob Scene is theatrical and catchy. This Is the New Shit is not my favorite among the more well-known Marilyn Manson tracks. Some versions of this album feature Tainted Love, the soft cell cover, which was from Not Another Teen Movie. John Five co-wrote an awful lot of this album. This album was banned in parts of the Middle East because of its overt sexual and anti-authoritarian imagery. Doll, dagga buzz, buzz, ziggity zag. Straight up glam rock. Use Your Fist and Not Your Mouth, strong industrial vibes there. The title track is just straight up sleazy, which normally I would like, but it's kind of not my favorite. Kaboom Kaboom sounds a lot like a lot of stuff we've heard before from Marilyn Manson. Slut Garden, it's just got a cool name. And it has a really good chorus, too. The first 10 seconds of Spade had me wondering, wait a minute, did I suddenly put on a Kate Bush album? And then 30 seconds later, I'm like, no, this is definitely not a Kate Bush album. Paranoir, the spoken word track, is one of the best tracks on the album. The Bright Young Things. By this time, Linkin Park had already shown up to the tune of probably 15 million albums sold by the time this album was together for Marilyn Manson. So I think, just my opinion, this is why Marilyn Manson added some rap elements to the music on this album, which I really don't feel works. Better of Two Evils is kind of throwback in a way that just makes me want to listen to old Marilyn Manson. The album Closer is an ambient sort of dirge where you really can't tell what's going on. In my opinion, this is the most disappointing. This may be the most disappointing album in the catalog. It's borderline good because it does have some really good songs and some that really don't work. So I'm going to say that this is an okay Marilyn Manson album. The Best Of collection, Lest We Forget, released in 2004. This achieved gold status, so still some interest in the band. Maybe some people that hadn't ever purchased any Marilyn Manson on physical media, and this is 2004, so that was really still the main way people did it. Personal Jesus was a Depeche Mode cover. It was new on the album. Shirley Manson was almost a guest on this album. The two of them recorded a cover of the Human League's Don't You Want Me, but decided that it just wasn't very good, so it didn't show up on the album. This album is a compilation of previous works, some remixes. Some songs were omitted in conservative markets because of censorship concerns. The Long Road Out of Hell from the Spawn soundtrack is also included here. The version of Tainted Love showed up. As far as best of albums go, this is a really, really good one. If you only own one Marilyn Manson piece of physical media other than Antichrist Superstar, at least get this. In 2007, Eat Me, Drink Me was released. Heart-Shaped Glasses, When the Heart Guides the Hand. Great song. Putting Holes in Happiness was the single song, a goth rock jam that is. I love the guitar solo on that. The video for that song? What do you think? This album was less angry and more depressed in a lot of ways, more introspective. The shock rock is dialed down a notch or two for this, that's for sure. Marilyn has stated that he recorded all of the album's vocals lying down on the studio floor with his hands cupping the studio microphone. So kind of like that. The Red Carpet Grave is an atypical Marilyn Manson song. Just a Car Crash Away is a standout track. It's very emotional. Evidence is eerie and driving. Are You the Rabbit is really intense compared to everything else on the album. Mutilation is the sincerest form of flattery. It feels like an awful lot of other Marilyn Manson songs I've heard. It's okay. Cool groove to You and Me and the Devil Makes Three. I like the fact that this album leans a little more into goth. It has more goth vibes than probably the previous 2 or 3 albums. I'm going to say that this is a good Marilyn Manson album. In 2009, The High End of Low was released. Marilyn, we need a catchy song for the radio. Something with a hook. A title you can't forget. I got something for you. Not long after that conversation, this album's first single, Armageddon, was released. It was fairly commonplace by the year 2009 to write a song to really piss off your record label. It's a synth-heavy, glam rock track with a big chorus. I hate to admit that I really actually like this song. Not one to sing around the grandkids, though. The songs appear on the album in the order in which they were written. That's actually very, very rare. Running to the Edge of the World. Is this Marilyn Manson's Every Rose Has Its Thorn? Don't throw stuff at me. I'll just say it's an uncharacteristically poignant Marilyn Manson song. And ironically, the video for the song was condemned as perceived glorification of violence against women. Devour is a slow burner. Pretty as a Swastika lives in that sort of gray area between metal and punk. Leave a Scar has noticeable glam rock vibes. Four Rusted Horses, this is different. Blank and White is just kinda, nah, I Want to Kill You Like They Do in the Movies is a very ambitious track and also a very long track. Wow is weird, oh weird. Unkillable Monster is one of the better tracks on the back half of the album. We're From America, okay. I think this album is borderline okay and good, so I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and say good because the tracks, there's not really a lot on this album that I think, there's nothing on this album that I think is bad. I think that there are, like I said, maybe some songs that are just kind of and really only a handful of really good songs, so maybe the two sort of balance each other out and we'll just call it good. In 2012, Born Villain dropped. No Reflection earned the band their 4th Grammy nomination. It has a weird sort of guttural hook, but it's catchy. Slow Motion is a great song. The video is slow. Johnny Depp plays guitar on Manson's cover of You're So Vain, which gets tacked on at the end of the album. The videos that were released from this album, a lot of violent imagery. The opener, Hey Cruel World, is a solid opener with believable anger. Pistol Whipped it doesn't really land for me. Overneath the Path of Misery, Shakespeare and heavy grinding guitars. Yes, this is one of Manson's experiments that I do really like. The Gardener has a groove to it, which I find spoken word tracks really should. The Flowers of Evil could be a Sisters of Mercy track, maybe. Children of Cain is a bit of a dirge, but it works. Disengaged, I think just could have been left off the album. Lay Down Your Arms. This is one of the few really intense tracks on the album. It's very riff heavy, it's very defiant, with very defiant, angry lyrics. The only thing heavier on the album is probably the next track. Murderers Are Getting Prettier Every Day, which gives me early Manson vibes, and you know how heavy that was. The title track hits pretty hard too after it gets going. Breaking the Same Old Ground is very reflective in a way that works. The bonus track, You're So Vain, is you know what Marilyn Manson cover songs sound like, and either you care or you don't, or whatever your feelings are about the original, you have those feelings. I'm going to say this is another good Marilyn Manson album, not a great one. Not, a lot of this album works, a lot of it's just kind of okay. In 2015, The Pale Emperor was released. It contained the singles Third Day of a 7-Day Binge, which has a very cool bluesy groove. You know, as songs about self-destruction go, this one's a pretty good time. Deep Six is a dark, catchy, anthemic song that's easy to digest in that Marilyn Manson sense of the phrase. My favorite track on the album is The Mephistopheles of Los Angeles. I just think that song's just great. Killing Strangers is a great bluesy opener. Slave Only Dreams to Be King. That bass line is crazy in that. The Devil Beneath My Feet, again, a groove-heavy bluesy track. Marilyn's vocals are just right on here, really on most of the album. Birds of Hell Waiting, well, I don't know. That one didn't really land. That one just okay for me. Cupid Carries a Gun. Yes. Hypnotic, orchestral. The guitar work is eerie. It's one of the more experimental tracks in the Marilyn Manson catalog that I feel good about. Odds of Even is okay. This is the best album in quite a while, in my opinion. Heaven Upside Down dropped in 2017. Kill for Me is cool. It's bluesy. It's got a groove to it. Something I just think about Marilyn Manson hits on that hits on that pretty well. We Know Where You F***ing Live is it's a straight-up industrial rocker that spends a solid minute or more building up to some serious aggressiveness. I get 90s Marilyn Manson vibes here. Revelation number 12 is punchy, heavy, industrial, aggressive, a strong, energetic opener. A return to form again. Parts of this album really take you back to the 90s. Tattooed in reverse. Stomp, clap, stomp, clap. But it works, though. Satan is a slow cooker. Saturnalia is brooding, bluesy, atmospheric. It's maybe just a bit too long. Jesus Christ reminds me of Joan Jett somehow. Take that statement out of context and you can go all kinds of places with it. Blood Honey is venomous and gritty with heavy, heavy guitars to match. Heaven Upside Down is okay. Threats of Romance. I love the guitar in this track. This is a consistent, more focused album. Unfortunately for Manson, the allegations and the accusations regarding abuse really started to take a toll in maybe the public's having a favorable opinion at all of Marilyn Manson. Nonetheless, this album is still a pretty good album. It's consistent and it's focused. I guess my only real beef with it is I don't think that there are any great songs on that album. We Are Chaos dropped in 2020. This is where Shooter Jennings entered the picture and really brought some new creativity and some new, I don't know if energy is the right word, in the literal sense of the word energy, but the way the word energy is used these days, it brought some new energy to Marilyn Manson. You could tell they both had a shared love of 70s music, like David Bowie and Roxy Music and Iggy Pop. This album didn't sell particularly well, even though it does contain We Are Chaos, the title track, We Are Chaos, which in my opinion is probably one of the top 10, maybe top 5 best Marilyn Manson songs of the 21st century. I love that song. Don't Chase the Dead is a pretty cool song with some noticeable post-punk vibes. It's got a kind of catchy hook. It's one of the best songs on the album. Again, all of the allegations against Manson, certain major music publications refused to even acknowledge that this album existed, so no reviews. I think there were some stores that didn't carry physical copies of it, although the year 2020 was not big for physical media. Vinyl was on the way back by 2020 for sure, but not the most prominent element. Red, Black, and Blue has this foreboding opening monologue, or monologue, as I kind of think of it. It plays out like a sermon, but once the track gets going about, 2 minutes later, all of a sudden it feels like a slower White Zombie track or something. Paint You With My Love. I hear Bowie, Bauhaus, and Queen in this, and someone else that I just can't quite put a finger on right now. It's cool. It's a cool song. Halfway and One Step Forward is a mid-tempo, which by the time you get to this point in the album, you realize mid-tempo plays a big role on the album. Anyway, this song is reflective, atmospheric. It's probably the closest Marilyn Manson has ever come to sounding like Depeche Mode, maybe? Oh, wait a minute, and then you get Infinite Darkness. So you got to have one sort of banger on this, right? It gets there. It's pretty goth. Perfume, depending on how you say it, is glam mostly and punk a little. Sauve Coagula has this sort of insidious creep to it. Broken Needle, to me, is like if Roger Waters was 10 times angrier at himself than with the rest of the world. Yeah, somehow I listened to that and I heard Roger Waters. I definitely believe that Shooter Jennings brought something new to the music, and that this is a great, borderline classic Marilyn Manson album. I guess I might say it's Marilyn Manson's second best album. Whoa! If you haven't heard it, don't judge. And finally, in 2024, One Assassination of God, Chapter 1. The band's first album on Nuclear Blast Records. It feels more like a return to form for Marilyn Manson, for the most part. As Sick as the Secrets Within, Sacrilegious, Raise the Red Flag preceded the album's release. All 3 tracks built some anticipation for me, especially the first 2. Death as a Costume is a blatantly 80s new wave shoegaze throwback. It breaks up the overall vibe of the album up to this point, and in a good way. Meet Me in Purgatory. Dance party! No, not really, but there's an undeniable groove here. Sacrilegious is probably the better groove track on the album. Still, I will warn you, you will find yourself bobbing your head to this song, so, make sure nobody's watching. Sacrifice of the Mass is a solid closing track. This album was not produced by Shooter Jennings, but it kind of feels like what We Are Chaos might have sounded like if Shooter Jennings hadn't been involved, which I realize is a really weird thing to say. Like, how do you even imagine that? But this sounds like a more true to form, if certainly a bit more subdued, obviously, especially when compared to Antichrist Superstar, album from Marilyn Manson. I do believe it is a good Marilyn Manson album, and the album is not wanting to... Oh, there we go. I'm not sure what happened there. It just didn't want to come onto the tier list. Maybe it was hoping for me to say something better. Now, there are various songs that Manson released as one-off singles here and there. Maybe some things that wound up on soundtracks, like covers of Cry Little Sister, God's Gonna Cut You Down, The End. I didn't go out of my way to put any of those on the tier list. They're one-off songs. They're Marilyn Manson covers, of which, you know, he's done a lot if you search around on the B-sides and album soundtracks. And I Love Her Madly, another Doors song he covered. If you like Marilyn Manson doing covers of other people's songs, one's probably as good as the other, although I will say I don't feel like Cry Little Sister needed to be covered. That was kind of already a Marilyn Manson song to begin with. So that's where I stand on the music of Marilyn Manson. I'm going to stick a couple more tier list videos either up here or, you know, over there. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to put them just yet. Maybe one on each side. Maybe there's a tier list video here. Hey! I do thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.